What happened? Well, it took Gibbon 9 volumes to describe the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, and I shall not embark on that. But thinking about this almost incredible episode does tell one something about the nature of civilization. It shows that however complex and solid it seems, it is actually quite fragile. It can be destroyed. What are its enemies? First of all, fear. Fear of war, fear of invasion, fear of plague, fears that make it simply not worthwhile constructing things or planting trees or even planting next year's crops. And fear of the supernatural, which means that you daren't question anything or change anything. The late antique world was full of meaningless rituals, mystery religions that destroyed self-confidence. And then boredom, the feeling of hopelessness, which can overtake people with a high degree of material prosperity. There's a poem by a modern Greek called Cavafy, a poem in which he imagines the people of some late antique city waiting every day for the barbarians to come and sack it. And then, finally, the barbarians move off somewhere else, and the city is saved. But the people are disappointed. It would have been better than nothing. Of course, civilization requires a modicum of material prosperity, enough to provide a little leisure. But far more it requires confidence. Confidence in the society in which one lives, belief in its philosophy, belief in its laws, confidence in one's own mental powers. The way the stones of that bridge are laid is not only a triumph of technical skill, but it shows a vigorous belief in discipline and law, energy, vitality. All the great civilizations or civilizing epochs have had a weight of energy behind them. People sometimes think that civilization consists in fine sensibilities and good conversation and all that. Well, these can be among the agreeable results of civilization, but they are not what makes a civilization. And a society can have these amenities and yet be dead and rigid. So, if one asks why the civilization of Greece and Rome collapsed, the real answer is that it was exhausted. As the barbarians, who'd been hammering at the borders of the Roman Empire throughout its whole history, finally crossed the Danube and the Rhine. At first, they were half Romanized and helped to carry on the administration of the empire. But gradually, the great system broke down. And into Italy there poured successive waves of invaders who were destructively hostile to what they couldn't understand. I don't suppose they bothered to destroy the great buildings that were scattered all over the Roman world, but the idea of keeping them up never entered their heads. They preferred to live in prefabs and to let the old places fall down. Of course, here and there, life must have gone on in an apparently normal way for very much longer than one would expect. It always does. Civilization might have drifted downstream for a long time. But in the middle of the 7th century, there appeared from the south a new agent of destruction, Islam. There is one God, and Muhammad is his prophet, the simplest doctrine that has ever gained acceptance. And it gave to the prophet's followers the invincible solidarity that had once directed the legions of Rome. In a miraculously short time, about 50 years, the classical world was overrun. Only its bleached bones stood out against the Mediterranean sky. The old source of civilization was sealed off, and if a new civilization was to be born, it would have to face the Atlantic. What a hope. People sometimes tell me that they prefer barbarism to civilization. I doubt if they've given it a long enough trial. Like the people of Alexandria, they are bored by civilization. But all the evidence suggests that the boredom of barbarism is infinitely greater. Quite apart from discomforts and privations, there was no escape from it. very restricted company, no books, no light after dark, no hope.